Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's the International GTOpen Championship. We're returning here to Red Bull Ring, and qualifying now about to get underway. The mist starting to dissipate here with an air temperature of 13 degrees. Early morning, as you'd expect. And those temperatures certainly have been rising as the sun has emblazoned across this fantastic track, of course, that holds the Austrian Grand Prix. As you can see, the cars, they're making their way out back onto the circuit to once again resume the championship after a summer break right through August. We have still got at the top of the tree in terms of the team's championship, Team Motor Park and Optimum Motorsport fighting it out as hard as ever. In terms, though, of the Drivers' Championship, Charlie Fagg and Samuel Dahan currently leading that accolade by a solitary point, with Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seibert in behind them and chasing. Of course, it has been such a helter-skelter season, lots of fits and starts. A team that are hoping, obviously, for great things will be Oregon, because obviously coming off the back of last year, they took both race wins in race 1 and 2 and have fond memories of this very circuit as Steve Jans makes his way out of the pit lane. Plenty to look at, and cross-free practice, it certainly was a busy one. Gino Forgione and Andrea Montemini going fastest in FP1, with Dexter Muller and Yannick Meckler coming second place, with Motor Park's Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seibert in their quest for the title. They finished third in free practice 1 themselves, with free practice 2 delivering for Simon Riker and Christopher Haase in East Tallinn, who unfortunately had an issue. After going fastest in that particular session, they would then have an engine problem that would mean that they would have to essentially change it, and therefore leave themselves with a little bit of a predicament heading into the start of this session. So it's a bit of a mystery, a question mark as to how that Audi's going to perform, but certainly based off what we've seen in terms of free practice 2, no qualms with the likes of Simon Riker and Christopher Haase at this stage. Optimum Motorsport in second with Sam Dahan and Charlie Fagg holding on to that placement. Kessel Racing lined up in third in that same session with Nicolo Rossi and Nicolo Schiro taking P3. There are the two motor parks in tandem. Marcos Seibert, of course, we all know his nature as well known in amongst that of the GT Sport paddock. Can he land a blow here to the likes of Charlie Fagg and Sam Dahan? We'll wait and see. Thank you for joining us as well, folks. My name is, of course, George Morgan. Alongside me is Chris Stevens. Chris, we're back. The GTOpen's returned. Did you enjoy your summer break?
I really did. And it's been fantastic. But I missed, you know, the cacophony of GT3 action that we've enjoyed so much at this season. I mean, my case was packed a week ago, ready to come here, and so glad to be back with a thrilling championship fight. 1 point separating the Optimum pairing of Charlie Fagg and Sam Dahan and the Motor Park pairing of Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seibert, of course. And we've still got fights in the Pro-Am Championship and the Am classification as well. Now, that East Tallinn Audi that you were talking about, that was the pace setter yesterday, an overnight engine change. So the team having to work through the night to get the car ready for today. They're of course racing on home soil as the sole Austrian outfit on the grid, and also in their first season of international competition as well. And it's just not what that team needs at the moment, is it? Bearing in mind that they were early championship contenders, but they haven't scored points in 2 out of the last 3 races and haven't been on the podium since the photo finish moment at the end of the Spa Enduro between Charlie Fagg and Christopher Haase. But that car has been out on track and they've come back into the pits, I think just to do a quick check to see that the engine is in fact working, and that car is still in the pits at the moment, but nothing alarmingly obvious wrong with that car at the moment.
No, Anthony Bartone making his way around turn 1 as well. First appearance this season.
Oh dear.
Just about to say first appearance in the GTOpen this season, and a first spin to boot in qualifying as well.
Yes,
and
he's going to block the Kessel Ferrari as well on the pit exit.
Yeah, the Air Corsa, unfortunately, coming under a little bit of scrutiny on the outset of the pit lane, but no collision, no harm done. But heading through turn 3, we can now see as well Giuseppe Cipriani's car making its way through. And we've also now got plenty of other drivers out and about looking to try and get themselves established here. 25 minutes to go, plenty to come.
Yeah, so this is Anthony Bartone, who's been put in that car, replacing Andres Latour. So this Get Speed entry number 6 that debuted last time out in the Castellet new driver at the helm for that one. But Aaron Walker, the young Brit, just 17 years of age, still in that car, but with Bartone, the silver driver, getting put in that car. Now it has been re-entered as a pro category car. And here's that spin at the exit of the first corner, just up on that curb.
Yeah, that's what that entry can do to you. You get the rears all twisted, and naturally that can cause you a problem. First, elevated off turn one, the inside.
The apex curb, yeah.
Just pivoted the car. And I got to say, the F Corsa was probably lucky that it came out a little later than what it did, otherwise it could have met a collision at that point. Little reminder, folks at home, if you're new to the International GT Open, of course, 2 races span the weekend, a 70-minute session and a 60-minute one as well. Points for each race, of course, 15 points for a victory, 12 points for P2, 10 points for P3, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, consecutively down towards P10. The only change that we have through the course of the season is that Spa-Francorchamps, where we have the endurance race. The points doubled for that particular round in the top 10 as well, and naturally that is how it all maps out. But we just caught a glimpse there as well of the Gatsby performance. Kiki Satnada and Adam Osaka marked their return as well, Chris, after a pretty hefty blow at Paul Ricard.
Yes, they got a fresh paint job on that car at Paul Ricard, and it lasted all of 6 corners before it was flung into the barriers, and unfortunately really had to retire from the whole weekend. But good to see them back out, and back out on track now is Simon Riker in that East Talent Audi. So it looks like all is well with that engine, although something's screeching a little bit. I think it might have just been brakes. Hopefully it was just brakes and bedding those in a little bit, but Simon Riker on his way now.
They're not unfamiliar to having issues during the course of a race either. We hark back to Hungaroring, where of course they had that major fault that essentially cost them any chance of that particular race win, and they qualified superbly that weekend too.
Yes, gearbox problems that was on that particular occasion, and now engine this weekend as well. And the thing is, they've been one of the most consistent teams that we've had in terms of their performance. Not necessarily in terms of the results they've ended up scoring, but they've always been there, and they are falling away in the championship ever so slightly. They are on 66, championship leaders Fag and Dehaan on 86. So they need to start clawing that back, and this track doesn't seem fantastic for the Audi, but it seems like they've got some pace in that car, as does the Team Motorpark car. Marcos Seibert here, he's having a fantastic year, not only fighting for the championship here as he goes second fastest, still a long way to go in this session, of course, but Marcos Seibert having a fantastic season in the European Le Mans Series as well, in the LMP3 car with Cool Racing, just taking the championship lead there as well, having won at Aragon. So he's having quite a season.
He is, and alongside good friend and Euroformula contender last season, Alejandro Garcia as well. Very close friends they are too. Of course, we saw Marcos Seibert in the paddock last season on many an occasion, supporting and backing and essentially coaching Alex Garcia. And great to see that they're now working together in that ELMS championship. Got to say, going back to Christopher Haase and Simon Riker, they are in good company in terms of form across the season. One of only 2 combinations to go ahead and take a podium at least once every weekend so far this season. Only 2 teams have been able to do that. That, of course, being that Motorpark outfit, Marcos Seibert and Diego Menchaca, but also the East Talent Audi of Simon Riker and Christopher Haase. So that does certainly goes to show, if the form continues, then they'll be at least on for a podium this weekend.
Absolutely. Here is the championship leader, Sam Dehaan, back in red zebra colours after we had a bit of chrome added to that Optimum McLaren for the last round, which they also used at the Spa 24 as well, if I remember rightly. But yes, good to see the traditional red zebra back. And Dan Arrow here in the number 19 Oregon Lamborghini. He's embarking on an incredibly busy period, actually. He was at Vallelunga testing for Super Trofeo earlier this week. Here this weekend, of course, then to Valencia for Super Trofeo next weekend, and then back with GTOpen at Monza in 2 weeks' time as well. And actually didn't get off to the best of starts because his rear window on his, I think it was his rental car, got smashed in by some construction workers on accident earlier in the week. So been an eventful time for Dan Arrow there, the young Dutchman.
It certainly has been, and if we know anything about this round of Red Bull Ring, we hark back to this very weekend an exact year ago. Of course, this very round would tee up a sensational championship fight. Of course, that between the Oregon team and that of the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. Both Oregon cars were in the fight. Incidentally, Glenn Van Berlo and on that occasion as well, his teammate Kevin Gillardoni were actually at the top of the championship heading into the latter stages, but it all changed off the face of the remaining rounds. And it's a constant theme, certainly here in the GTOpen, that this is where we start to see the patterns unfurling. Given the fact now that we have only a mere point separating that of Sam Dehaan and Charlie Fagg up the sharp end, and that of Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seibert, it really does throw up a very exciting finish and finale to this championship. Fran Raider currently on top now, Dan Arrow purple in that middle sector, but losing a little bit of time, but still getting his personal best in the third sector as well. Third fastest right now, just behind fellow Oregon team driver Maximilian Paul.
Yeah, he got it all crossed up in the braking zone for the first corner. I think pushing the limits of how much of that little runoff you can use on the left-hand side there, probably getting a bit of dirt on the tyres as well. But if we're talking about things that happened last year here, George, of course we had the debut for two very important teams here. That is the Altitude Racing McLaren, which currently leads the standings, Fran Raider and Andrew Gilbert, now run by Optimum, speak of the devil, there he is, and the Motorpark team as well, racing under a different banner at the time, but very much their arrival into the GT3 racing scene.
Essentially, the very foundation of their move into GT3 as well.
Exactly.
And it was great to see them take part in it. And I tell you what, for their first official season, full campaign, it has been a successful one. And for both cars as well, because Timo Rumpkeil, as well as Heiko Neumann, they have been very, very, very strong in the AM category, and have, of course, since leading that championship up to this point. So it's been a very successful first season for Motorpark here in the GTOpen.
And you would expect nothing less. A team like Motorpark that has been so unbelievably successful in junior single-seater racing for decades. Not just in the Euro Formula Open that we have here with us this weekend, but also in the likes of European Formula 3 back in the day, among many, many others. Fran Raider here just had the provisional pole time taken away from him by Maximilian Paul by a tenth of a second. It's a 1:28.597. That is the benchmark time at the moment. So we're already considerably quicker than we were going yesterday, but that's the effect of fresh tyres for you. And the lap record, the GT3 lap record here, which we are fast approaching, is a 1:28.445. That was set by Christian Engelhardt in a Lamborghini back in 2017 in a GT Masters opening. And that is the Benaldi Lamborghini. Red flag has been brought out. Now that looks like turn 6. Samporn Javanel has managed to hit the gravel, and he's just lost the rear end on the way into that left-hander, and he's beached it in the gravel.
Yeah, Mike got a little stiff on the brakes heading into Roche Curve there through that double left-hander. Can be quite treacherous at times. And unfortunately for Samporn Javanel, it's meant that he has taken a bit of a detour into that gravel trap. The red flag now being waved out on the circuits. The marshals certainly doing their job, as they always do so well. As you know, take a look at the 51 car make its way into the pits. But currently showing on our screens right now, it is Maximilian Paul. And I must say, Chris, recent form for Max Paul has been vibrant. DTM winner, as well as taking the victory. He had a Hungaroring as well in this very championship.
Yes, so he and Pierre-Louis Chauvet won 2 of the last 3 races. And for the Pirate team, of course. And now we all remember what happened in the first race at Le Castellet, where Chauvet was a bit ambitious on the brakes with Sam Dehaan, and that was a bit more walking the plank than finding a loot full of treasure.
No buried treasure there, unfortunately. Well, in this case, it is buried.
It's buried for the Lamborghini there, yeah, absolutely. But Maximilian Paul has been on absolutely fine form during the summer break, became a DTM race winner, back in the GT World Challenge Europe as well with Paul Motorsport, the Epiponymous team, run by his father. And he's just been having a sensational season, this young German racer who's been doing a great job out there, and now the pit lane getting very, very packed out there. And Benaldi, actually, they're down to 1 car for this weekend because the sister car which we normally see, the 32 of Martin Kodrick and Sandra Muir, has had to pull out for this weekend, unfortunately, as has a number of cars, actually, for a variety and a modicum of reasons. I think it's just unfortunate timing, really, because we're down to 25 cars, which is the smallest grid we've seen all season, but it is still an incredibly healthy grid, and I think that says quite a lot about the quality of the championship we've been seeing so far this year, that we're disappointed to have 25 cars here this weekend.
Yeah, and the great thing is that all the championship contenders, should we say, up at the sharp end, are obviously here and fighting it out this time around. I did get a chance to speak to Dexter Muller and Yannick Mettler yesterday night as well, and they're currently in the fight for the Pro-Am title. But obviously at this point, there's quite a gap to certainly try and obtain. 42 points go into that of Marco Polcini and Eddie Cheever, and they have taken the Pro-Am win at Portimao, Hungaroring, and Paul Ricard. Also taking a podium in the first race at Portimao as well, finishing P3 after that stellar weekend for them. But Dexter Muller and Yannick Mettler have certainly not disappointed themselves. They've been absolutely stellar, taking the victory in the very first race in Portimao in terms of the Pro-Am, and then, of course, finishing P3 at Hungaroring and a P2 at Paul Ricard. Neither team, though, taking the big results at Spa-Francorchamps. That applauded, of course, going to Antara Zhao and Matteo Cairoli as well. But nevertheless, it's still all to play for, and we've still got these two races we have this weekend, and also the Temple of Speed in a matter of 2 weeks' time, and then Barcelona, which I can only imagine will throw up a very feisty affair, because as it always is in the GT Open, Spain does deliver in GT3 cars.
Absolutely. And a new layout, of course, as well. The chicane has been removed, and we're going back to the proper old-school Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, for the first time in a number of years. Session has been green flagged once again, as Sam Pornjau Javanel has been removed from the gravel trap, and he's made his way back into the pits. Now, fair bit of gravel coming out of the Lamborghini as he did so. Now, this is the Olymp Audi getting a big skip over that sausage curb on the way into turn one. It's Marcin Jedlinski at the wheel of that car at the moment. This is the SPS Mercedes doing something similar, but not quite to the same dramatic stance.
Yeah. Almost as dramatic as Pitamber's hair colour at this moment in time.
Yes,
we've got to allude to the purple hair that Mikhail Pitamber is donning this weekend. It's actually a new occurrence. He alluded to me that it's brand new for this weekend, so very exciting indeed. Maximilian Paul, who we can now see getting himself set across the bollards, making his way through turn one as well. Got to make sure you're very careful heading through that section. But yes, now as we await the cars to make their way out of the pit lane, green flag conditions now, and with 15 minutes and 50, still plenty of time to see more times up at the sharp end. And I've got to say, Oregon, already from the early goings on, looking particularly healthy, and great to see Dan Arrow up there too, Chris.
Yes, now here's an interesting one. Car number 27, which is the Pro-Am Championship leading AF Corsa Ferrari of Marco Polcini and Eddie Cheever, is under investigation for leaving the pit lane with a red light on. That is a very strict no-no, so I can only imagine that car was put into the fast lane right as the red flag was coming out, and maybe didn't quite see the light in time to stop, but that will certainly be one for the stewards.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were certainly form players as well when it comes to qualifying here in the GT Open, you would back your money on East Talent Audi, of course, alluding back to that stellar showing in free practice. They're the only team to have more than one pole position this season, 3 to their name so far across the campaign. Charlie Faggot and Samuel Dehan hold 1, and then 1, of course, going to Alfaisal Alzubert and Fabian Schiller. And, of course, Maximilian Paul and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Martin Kodrick also taking 1 himself as well. So the form players here in qualifying, that'll be in the East Talent Audi. Let's see how they can bounce back from the engine change that they had to sustain as well. Good to see as well the combination of Phil Barron and Urs Kirkmeyer back with us too, because of course they were part of the Red Bull Ring fracas last season too. Great to see them here in this championship. They've been with us all season long, and it's wonderful to have them in the Ferrari, to say the least. I also want to point out as well, Chris, give a big hat tip to Gino Forgione and Andrea Montemini, fastest in free practice 1 yesterday.
Yes, I'm not quite sure where they were at in Le Castellet, but we always have to take the Friday results with a pinch of salt, because we know that the they use a carryover set of tyres for those sessions, and therefore the results can vary quite dramatically. But yes, for an AM car to end up fastest overall, still a very good performance there. And we're talking about Baron as one of the few cars still running the old Ferrari 488. And in contrast, the 25 AF Corsa Ferrari we're looking at here, that we were just talking about, is in the new Ferrari 296. We have 5 of the 296s. So I think
Olymp also moved into one as well.
Yes, I think that's the first time this season that the 296 has outgunned the 488 in terms of the grid numbers, because there are 3 488 left on the grid. Yes, we do have a couple of new 296s, as you mentioned there, George.
Yeah, Carol Bash was very impressed with the new 296. He was showing it off on his Instagram feed only only a night or two ago, as we now see the cars get themselves wound up yet again before hurtling towards turn 1. Anthony Bartone, who we're currently right on board with, making his way in towards turn 1. Hopefully he won't pivot it this time as he looks to commit to the inside curb. A little unsettled, but nothing too serious.
He's not going to forgive you for saying that.
Hey, listen, it's all on camera. We've seen it. So
yeah,
there we go.
True.
Yeah, there's no getting away from it. But no, Anthony Bartone in his first visit here in the GT Open this season, making his way up towards Remus Curve at turn 3. And he'll then make his way down towards Losh Gold, now emblazoned in orange here in Austrian country. Let's see what he can bring to the table. 12 minutes and 20 to go.
Yes, Bartone from the drag racing Bartone family. Both his father and his uncle very successful across the pond in drag racing, and Anthony himself still quite early into his racing career. Only got his competition license last year and has been running in the GT World Challenge America this year, and debuted in GT4 America last year as well. So very much early on in his career, but now coming over to Europe and being paired with Aaron Walker, who's one of those very exciting young talents coming up through the GT racing scene at just 17 years of age. And now we've got another of the Ferrari 296s here, the 38 Kessel Ferrari, the one that is currently 3rd in the Pro-Am Championship. Nicola Rosso and Nicolo Schiro. So he heads up towards the penultimate 2 corners now. Quite a chunk of curb there, and quite wide on the exit of turn 9 as well. I don't think they'll be needing to get the cameras out to double check if that was a track limits violation there.
Yeah, also big news in the world of GT Open, folks. I'm sure many of you might have seen it on social media, but the provisional calendar for 2024 was dropped recently, and it has meant that we will return to the Algarve at Portimao on the 27th, 28th of April, Spa-Francorchamps, Hungaroring, Circuit Paul Ricard, here again at the Red Bull Ring 2, and not forgetting Barcelona, Catalonia, but this time Monza featuring at the final round of the season, with one track to be confirmed, so sit tight, folks, more to come. And certainly, as we're seeing a very busy track, we're certainly a very busy sector coming out of turn 3 down towards Losh Gold.
Yes, the 51 there, not too eager to yield track position to the Kessel Ferrari. And look at this, they're going to be contact here, as the 38 was squeezing the AF Corsa Ferrari right up onto the curb. He did not want to yield that track position at all, even though the Kessel Ferrari is very much on a hot lap.
Yeah, I mean, we're not due to race until 12:30 this afternoon, but...
Goodness me.
Wow, a major moment there indeed. The 2 Ferraris essentially coming together at this point, and the Olymp Audi in itself, I think, had to be on red alert, I think, right through that, just to take its chance and sweep on through. And Marcin Jedlinski not concerned by such matters just yet as he peels through towards turns 9 and 10.
So we were talking about big GT Open news, big GT3 news in general over the last few weeks since we've been gone. It's been a good look at the new Corvette Z06 coming for next year as well, which may well end up competing. I think obviously America is the primary target for them, but also we had the unveiling of the Ford Mustang GT3 as well, and the Toyota / Lexus, however they decide to badge that one, probably Lexus. That's been testing as well. We've had a new look at that as well. Very exciting time in the world of GT3 racing. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, while we've had the current scenario with the Audi situation, of course, that's been red hot news around the press. It's great to see, obviously, new teams and new, or should we say new manufacturers stepping up.
But also good news in Audi that them pulling out of GT3 is actually less impactful than we suspected, because I think everyone initially thought it was going to be, well, there'll be no support for the existing Audi teams, whereas actually they are still going to be able to supply spare parts, engine rebuilds, provide engineering support as well. So really the only thing that's changed is they're not making a new car.
Making new cars, yeah.
So it's probably the best situation we could have ended up with, and it does mean we will still see the Audi R8 most likely on the grid next year.
And it is a fantastic car as well, and I'm sure the likes of Karol Bash and Marcin Jedlinski would attest to that, as we're seeing them make their way through the final corner this time. Nicolo Rossi with Marcin Jedlinski in hot pursuit, who should benefit off a little bit of aero, but lost a lot of time in sector 2 as they come up towards the line now. Rossi currently sat 17th, goes 15th fastest, ahead of that of Alessandro Cosi and that of Marco Polcini as well. Anthony Bartone down in 18th place, of course, representing in the pro category. Still Paul on top and untouched as well. Still a 10th of a second gap between him and Fran Rueda, who has a fantastic record himself here at this circuit historically, and has raced very competitively too. And has actually done well in prior essences of qualifying, but in recent times we've seen the likes of TF Sport take the top end, and guess who was driving it back in 2021? None other than Sam Dahan.
Yes, that was, oh wow, that was a real blast from the past. I mean, I was doing his sponsorship brochures for him back then. He was doing the triple program, I remember, with ELMS and Asian Le Mans series as well. That was, wow, yeah, that was a blast from the past. And Sam Dahan, yeah, he's been coming up from the British GT scene, has raced with Lamborghini, great teams there, and a great team in the form of TF Sport with Aston Martin as well, and now Optimum Motorsport, McLaren as well. They're also, speaking of British GT, they're also racing in the British GT this weekend as well, which is at Brands Hatch, if I remember rightly as well. So busy weekend for what is becoming very quickly a global team with programs out in America as well, with Inception Racing running their cars. Sam Dahan just gets a little wiggle there, and the 65 has an even bigger wiggle into the first corner. That, of course, is the AM Motorpark car. And actually, speaking of the AMs are doing really well, because Philip Barron is 6th place overall on AM pole position at the moment. So the top bronze driver, currently only half a second away from Maximilian Paul's provisional pole time, but I think that might well change in the last 6 minutes of this session. Here's a replay of that moment. Dahan has a little wiggle, and yes, the Motorpark has an even bigger wiggle.
Yeah, a little moment heading through turn 1. Great to see Christian Kozanowski obviously moving across to the 296 Ferrari. It certainly hasn't impacted his current scenario. Currently sat in 7th place and achieving a 2nd place in AM category right now. And
Gran Turismo movie coming out. Of course, all the attention is on Jan Mardenborough with that movie, but of course Christian Kozanowski, another driver to come up through the Gran Turismo Race to Reality program back in the day as well. That's had a huge impact on his career, as Dan Arrow now takes the top spot by just 87 thousandths of a second. It's an Oregon 1-2 at the moment. It's been a while since we've said that.
It has been a while, but I have to tell you, they're performing very well. Dan Arrow right at the sharp end now. Samuel Dahan improves to go 5th fastest at this point too. Maximilian Paul, I'm sure, will be looking to try and improve himself. Currently sat in 2nd. We're just waiting to see whether he does come back out and fire in some final laps. Of course, 5 minutes now still to go, so a matter of perhaps only 2 or 3 laps now remaining here as we run on board with Simon Riker. Of course, East Talent Audi, as we alluded to, fastest in free practice too, having that engine rebuild. Let's see if it's impacted them at all as they make their way through towards the final sector, heading down now towards the Jochenring curve. Only a matter of 2 corners remain now here at the Red Bull Ring as he looks to get himself ready and set to try and whittle in some faster lap times. Riker still in 13th.
Track limits and deletions are starting to come in. There were 12 pages of race directors' notes from free practice yesterday, all just saying track limits this time being deleted. So it's certainly a contentious issue here this weekend, particularly at those last 2 corners. As look at that margin, 87 thousandths of a second, now covers the top 3, with Fran Raider sticking it provisionally on the front row of the grid as well. That altitude racing car has really come alive since they switched over to being run by the Optimum team, and I'm sure they're very happy to have a second car in their camp for this championship as well.
Yeah, Marcos Seibert incidentally improving really strongly in the first sector, 21.961 in Sector 1 is looking pretty good right now. Personal improvement for Simon Riker in Sector 1 as well, fighting with the wheel as he makes his way out of Slosh Gold towards Rochenwerth Curve, and as I alluded to, 43 thousandths up in the first sector. Marcos Seibert lost a little bit in Sector 2, but still an improvement for the Motor Park car. And one thing we know about Marcos Seibert, a very tenacious driver, and I'd imagine that won't change here either as we go racing at Red Bull Ring. Simon Riker once again fighting with the car as he heads down now towards the final 2 bends, marshalling improvements in the first and second sector as we now dawn across to Marcos Seibert crossing the line, purple in the first sector. Can he topple the Oregon team?
Wow.
5th fastest for Marcos Seibert, but he still has time to usher in more time, but he just needs to clear the car in front of him.
Yeah, he's got the Carbon Mercedes run by SBS right in front of him, so we're getting a good tow up the hill here towards turn 3. Now, is Dexter Muller feeling generous? He is indeed. So he's let the Motor Park car go through.
Coming out of Remus now and needs to keep it tight and just rumbles over, just doesn't even, barely grazes the strip on the outside too. And, this is the replay of him coming out of turn 1, of course, making his way over the sausage curve on the inside, and smooth as you like, and we've come to expect this kind of driving from Marcos Seibert. He certainly is a very talented individual as he now heads out of Slosh Gold and doesn't even graze the gravel on the left-hand side either before heading down through towards Roche and Werth Curve. There's Dexter Muller in the distance, coming through now, this double left-hander, and you want to be careful, wary of that gravel on the right-hand side as you're looking at it. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought he was going slowly on the outset of Slosh Gold, so it definitely seems to me that he's backed out to the lap as we see the Greystone, well, shall I say, the McLaren 720 making its way out in the middle sector as well. Great to see them back too, Chris.
Yes, they weren't with us in the yesterday, were they? I cannot remember why, but yes, great to see the Proctor father-son combination back. Now look at this time from Maximilian Paul here, lighting up the timing screen at the moment with the fastest middle sector, coming out to the final corner. Now the Oregon Lamborghini comes across the line, and this will be an improvement, and it is by 0.3 of a second, a 1:28.87, and just looking to see, that is we are well below Christian Engelhardt's lap record time now.
We certainly are. Maximilian Paul giving Jerry Cannaviccio perhaps moments to celebrate, because of course Maximilian Paul delivering time and time again for the Oregon team, taking that famous victory at Hungaroring earlier on this season that had us jumping up and down in the commentary box, and he's faster again in the first sector. 88,000's already found. Let's hope that the traffic isn't going to hinder him, because this could be a very special lap. These Talent Audi as well up ahead too as they make their way down through towards the in-swinger, heading out of turn 4 and through towards turn 5, and can he usher in yet another improvement? Could this be devastation by the Oregon team as they head through towards the Roche and Werth curves now? They're trying to keep the car dialed in. Hunt for that tiger line down the inside as well. Do not extend on exit. Looking very, very smart indeed, but lost time. Obviously the traffic, I don't think it's helping, Chris.
Yeah, no, he's definitely being held up here. Now it's getting very busy out on track as we've only got a few seconds left before the checkered flag comes out. Oh, is he going to get over the line in time? I don't think he is. So this will be the last effort. I think he'll peel into the pits on the right-hand side. He does indeed. Checkered flag is now out. So if you've got anything left in the pocket, now is the time to use it. So the 1:28.187 is the time to beat. 0.3 of a second ahead of the sister Oregon car of Dan Arrow at the moment, and Fran Raider on Pro-Am pole and 3rd overall, as well as we're starting to see the first few cars come across the timing line and finish their laps. Simon Riker is one of them. He will do no better than 11th on the grid. Seibert has crossed the line as well. He is in 5th. Dan Arrow's back in the pit lane as well. Let's see if there's anybody else who can challenge for the front row. See the SBS car kicking up a little bit of dust through the apex of turn 8. But it doesn't look like anybody's quite close enough. Well, Fran Red was a bit close there. Sam de Haan looked like he might make an improvement, but lost a lot of time in the final sector as well, so he remains on the 3rd row of the grid alongside his nearest title rival, Marcos Seeber. And it doesn't look like there's going to be any further improvements, well, certainly at the front of the field. And so it is going to be a Lamborghini and Team Oregon front row lockout.
Yeah, once again, declaring their love for this track. They took victory in both races last season. They've got 2 cars on the front row, and Pier Giorgio Testa is going to go over and celebrate, and I'm sure Jerry Canavicio is thrilled as well. It's Maximilian Paul and Dan Arrow on the front row of the grid. A happy moment for the two as they look to try and climb further and further up in the championship.
And that's certainly one of the best performances we've seen from the number 19 crew. The Dan Arrow, a little bit less experienced, still quite early in his racing career actually, and so to be up on the front row alongside Maximilian Paul, that is a great achievement for them. I mean, what more can you say about Maximilian Paul? Running out of superlatives for the lad. He's just keeps being fast.
Oh, he certainly does. He is a tenacious character, and definitely on a voyage of discovery, I would say. He certainly has improved time and time again, and has got better and better as the championship has driven on.
Yes, he's finding his calling, isn't he? He's one of many drivers who's sort of come over from single-seater racing and ended up in GT3s, and it's working out very well for him at the moment.
It certainly is, and let's see if his result shines as brightly as the sun has today. As we now take a look at Maximilian Paul, he takes the pole position here this time around at Red Bull Ring. Dan Arrow makes it a 1-2 for the Oregon Team Lamborghini. Fran Rueda in 3rd, Riccardo Agostini in 4th, Marcos Seeber in 5th, Samuel de Haan in 6th, Philip Barron in 7th place, Christian Korzanowski, Andrea Montemini in 9th. Stellar showing from the AM category teams. Steve Jans in 10th place for the Get Speed Mercedes outfit as well. P11, we go to Simon Riker, Nicolo Rossi in 12th, Mikael Pitamba in 13th, Marco Polcini in 14th, Heiko Neumann in 15th place with Giuseppe Cipriani in 16th, Anthony Bartone in 17th with Alessandro Cosi in 18th place, Marcin Jedlinski 19th, Stuart Proctor with the returning Proctor fanfare coming back in 20th, Sam Javinil in 21st, Pascal Bachmann in the Street Art Aston Martin in 22nd, Kiki Saknana marks his return with 23rd place, Dexter Muller 24th with Jean-Claude Sada in 25th for AF Corsa Ferrari. So there we have it, folks. The spectators enjoyed that. We're now going to cross it over for an interview with Alfredo Filipponi.
Maximilian Paul, pole position in Red Bull. We are getting used to see you at the interview, but very nice lap here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think right now we have to really be focused and score results like this, as we are quite far back in the championship. And yeah, very happy the team did an amazing job. Also very, very clean and good preparation over the summer, so I'm very proud of them and all we achieved right now. So let's keep focused for the race and see what we can do.
And it's of course a 1-2, so good day for the Lambos. Good morning for the Lambos.
Absolutely, it's even better. Now we have to see in the race when it's hot outside and everything. We will see.
Still feasible in the championship?
We will try our best and never give up. At the end, we will see.
Well done. All the best.
Well, 3 podiums in their last 2 rounds. It certainly was a stellar showing from Maximilian Paul to take pole position off the back of a stellar run here this morning. You want to start as you mean to go on as well. We'll wait and see whether he can convert that into a potential race win. Join us this afternoon at 12:30 local time, folks. We'll see you then.